Welcome along to Crunching Gears, Season 1, Episode 12, Part 2. We continue our conversation with Gordon Noble, and we pick up where we left off last time. Gordon returns to the world stage with Niall McShay before taking a step back from co-driving as he took on the role of COC for Rally Ireland, a role he continued then in the Circuit of Ireland when that became a round of the ERC. He then went back into the co-driver's seat, where he's co-drove then over the last number of years then for the likes of Jonny Greer, Daniel Barry, and then renewing the Noble Fisher partnership when he started co-driving for Alastair Fisher. And Alastair Fisher and himself competed on the world stage, taking on the Citroen Young Driver Awards and coming very close to winning it, and won a lot of stages along the way, and then coming back closer to home when Alastair and himself has become a mainstay of the Tarmac Championship, finally taking their first outright win in Galway early in 2020. This and much, much more besides.
What could you do in a works car with works backup, you think, Frank?
Take it handy and win every rally around.
Bertie Fisher and Andrew Nesbitt have made the 1999 event a classic, as we have already said. Never has so much been provided for so many by so few.
And then Niall McShay come back on board then with you for 2007 and back in the world travels again.
That's another. Niall struck another deal through ProDrive and a company called Lukoil, who are the Russian national oil company.
Mm-hmm.
And he got involved in the side of that to go and drive. And we only did 2 rounds of the Junior World Championship that year, or the Production World Cup, that is called. We went up in Argentina and New Zealand again. Absolutely fantastic rallies to go to as well. Argentina, the crowds are just, you can't describe the volume and the passion of the people, if you know what I mean.
And could you pick all that up when you're in the car too?
You just get a vision of the scale of the crowd, but you can't miss all the bits of the smoke from the wee fires and the big crowds and that sort of stuff, you know. And you literally find a smell of some of those bonfires as you're passing, even in
the barbecues too.
The barbecues, and whatever else, and they're going bucked off on the sides of the road, waving flags and shooting, jumping up and down and stuff like that. I know. Special memory, I suppose, with the first stage of Rally Argentina 2007 was in that River Plate Stadium in Cordoba, where the football World Cup had been played less than 10 years previously, and there was 70,000 people in there that night for that stage. And the buzz, and you can't believe that in a rally car within a stadium you can hear the noise of the noise of the people, like. Class crack.
Oh, that must be that. That has to be some feeling, doesn't it?
Class crack. And the big positive for us was they ran the entry in kind of reverse order, right?
Oh yes. Right.
And we were fastest Group N car, and we were the fastest car overall for ages and ages and ages until the first of the big works teams came. So we got a lot of kudos from that, and it was live on TV, and this Lukoil people from kind of Russia, they've been watching the TV, and every time we come up, you know, the time is Niall McShay, Lukoil, Subaru, whatever else, and all these people were trying to kind of beat it, and nobody got there. So I think that kind of gave them a bit of a buzz, but really grand time. But,
and as you say, then back to New Zealand again, back to those roads once again, you know.
Back to New Zealand in a big race with Toshi Arai. Just disappointing end. We lost after 3 good hard days rallying by 2.1 seconds, like. So we're kind of depressed with that, but we made an effort. We didn't have any particular major errors. Is that the way to put it?
Yes. I don't know.
Drove fast.
Say you lost whatever.
No, there was no such thing as punctures or spins or maybe a few half spins, but nothing. You know, there's no significant time that we lost any amount of time. You know. But again, another brilliant rally. But
Yeah, want to tell the
finished
grandchildren so kind of thing. Yeah, so.
Absolutely.
So,
It is funny old world.
yeah. So then you kind of took a wee bit of a step back. Was that kind of a conscious decision in your own part, or was it the fact that you took on the role then as COC for Rally Ireland?
Well, that was a kind of it wasn't a quick or immediate transition. Is that the way to put it, Kevin?
Okay.
Through my motorsport and through Oma Motor Club over the years, I've always been involved in organising.
Okay.
Right from back in the early 80s when I first became in the committee of the club in Oma. I'd organised quarry sprints, navigation rallies. I was clerk, of course, the bushwhacker for something like 11 or 12 times over the years.
Yes, right. Okay.
So I had that bit of background of organisation. Is that the way to put it? But whenever the Rally Ireland was originally been kind of muted, is that the way to put it, in the 2003 and 4, I kind of was on the sidelines of a few of those phone calls and discussions with Ronan was the man that made the call to me a couple of times, and then Austin Fraser became the kind of Fermanagh contact. And I kind of got eased into that. Is that the way to put it? From the first pilot event in 2005, which was the mixed surface rally. We ran half gravel up in the north and a bit of tarmac in the south, and I suppose that's where I became the route coordinator for that. I put the route together. And then our candidate event in 2006, I was the deputy clerk of the course and the route coordinator for that. So then as time went on and we got the green light, well, it's a lot. You can imagine there was a hell of a lot of work in the background to make all that happen. That's just not doesn't happen on its own. There's a lot of press in the flesh with the different political people with the FIA, Motorsport Ireland, the MSA. There's all millions of hours of work in the background to make all that happen.
Have to be horrendous,
I ended up becoming working on the rally full time in 2007 then as the deputy clerk of the course stroke the route coordinator, which is the route manager, whatever you want to call it. I look after the stages and the marshals and safety and all that sort of stuff. And Tom Walsh was the clerk of the course of the original WRC event. I was full time with that. I got a secondment from the work and so on. And then whenever the 2009 date came in, remember we were in November 2007. Very quickly, then the whole thing turned around. The calendar for 2009 was certainly the first rally. So there was no time to rest or kind of look back on your laurels and that sort of stuff. And Tom had been full time on Rally Ireland for 6 months as well, but then he was back at work and he was managing a bank in Mayo and a lot of pressure and a lot of work, and the opportunity wasn't there. So I was still working on the rally full time and took on that COC role. And there's no doubt at the time it was extremely busy. It was demanding. It's a fair bit of pressure to make it happen, if you're being honest about it, But it kind of wasn't two parts. One of the daytime work was very much dealing with all the authorities and the people that you have to meet during the day. So we had 9 different councils to deal with 2 police forces, 2 ambulance services, 6 or 7 different fire services. Each of the ones in the south or in the counties. That was during the day, and they did all that work. But then in the evenings and the weekends, you're dealing with all your voluntary people, all the stage commanders, marshals, all those sort of folks who were working during the day, and you'd only talk to them at the evenings and the weekends. So you kind of follow on to make all of that happen. And because I was so busy organising, I didn't have time to go and actually compete. You didn't have time to do both and have a life as well.
Yes.
The home life kind of got parked for a bit of that time. So, there wasn't as much of it, but again, there was a bit of work, but it's extremely rewarding in hindsight to look back and see how successful Rally Ireland was. Absolutely thankfully was able to play a positive part, and there's still a good legacy of that still here. It's just there's us guys talk about the great thing about having Loeb and Grunham and all those boys racing around our roads, but from an organisational point of view, there's a lot of good work that was done then in terms of the development of safety plans, the development of marshalling plans, the development of all that stuff, which is now filtered back down to the sort of mainstream rallies and help them kind of develop, So
and them 2 events were regarded in the world circles as perfect events, or maybe not perfect's not the right word, but excellent events. They ticked a lot of boxes.
Well, if you can go back to the events when. Just to give you a few numbers, the FIA have an observer that goes to each of these events. Independent person comes in, arrives probably on the one of the recce days, Tuesday or Wednesday, and stays
Yes.
until Monday morning. And he has a 256 point scoring or analysis check sheet, called analysis sheet, whatever you call it. It covers everything from safety to the friendliness of the hotel, not the friendliness, how good the hotels are, to the service park, to the marshals, to the ability of the medical teams, whatever else. And they score that, and we were second best in the world behind Finland. So that felt good that we, that we had done a lot of things right, and they pick up on the most trivial little bits of things, so they picked up on a few signposts in the frigging road book. That's the level of detail that we're at. It wasn't that the signposts were wrong. They said they were suggesting another one might be helpful.
Right. Yes. So that's the fine twist comb they go through.
And to go back to the equipment that was in our safety vehicles, the regulations said they must be less than two-year old. He was saying some of them were kind of 18 months old, so they're getting close to the end of their life. They're still fitted within the rules, but that's how tight and how well they mark stuff.
I know they're chatting to Gary McElhinney. He was doing one of the
zero
cars. Zero car with Dermot Carnegie, and they were having an issue, but they on the radio to, I think it was yourself actually, and there was another zero car ready just to slot in. They were able to jump out, get the door plates swapped over, and go again. Like that's just
that's the level
that it has to be at. So.
That's the level of preparation you have. You have Plan A, which is the whole thing works. Plan B is that if there's a hiccup, and Plan B is usually making sure Plan A works. Is that the way to put it? Yeah. No, you're quite right. There was an issue. We'd had that. There was, for instance, there was a fully prepared Group N rally car sitting ready. But if the hiccup of one of the zero cars, we could swap them over, and we had to utilise in that particular instance.
And then that car then would probably have to be repaired to have a spare car.
That's what we did then. That's exactly what we did. The car that had I don't know, was it gearbox or clutch issue or something. We ended up having to get somebody to fix that to make sure it was a spare for the day after. But that's the level of prep that you're into, that you have all those Plan A and Plan B and all the other bits and pieces sorted out.
Any other event you could say that guy number 54 broke down, he would get him going there, he would get him doing 00 or whatever. It just doesn't work that way.
You have to have all the other bits and pieces stuff. Fantastic, but as you said, taken away from actually competing, but it was a slow transition. I was involved in Rally Ireland from 04, and just the time involved just built up and built up and built up to 07, 08 when it became full time. But as we know, the unfortunate thing is that the money wasn't about in Ireland, wasn't about anywhere in the world to try and sustain those events when the country couldn't afford to pay some of the bills they had for schools and for hospitals that were unlikely to be paying to be sponsoring rallies to the tune of €1 million from the north, $1 million from the south. I mean, that's kind of the monies are involved, and it takes a couple of million quid to produce those events.
And looking back, probably in hindsight, it probably wasn't an awful lot of money, for the payback they were getting from tourism and one thing and another. But I suppose that's hindsight's a wonderful thing. So.
We can argue the story from our motorsport side as to how good rallies are and the payback you get for the amount of money that they actually put in. And we would argue strongly still that the return from motorsport is great compared to golf, where there's nothing wrong with golf, don't get me wrong, but the input of potentially 4.5 to 5 million to the British Open and kind of Portrush compared to the return, and we're getting 2 million quid maxed for the return we were getting. I think the universities go and analyse these things would say that the return's better, and that's very much the basis of what Bobby Wells is working on now and getting the WRC here. That's what the basis that the IRC or European Championship, whatever title you want to put, that the circuit came under, was able to prove that the number of bed nights and the spend and the marketing and the advertising out of the event made it worthwhile. So that's where that circuit really emanated from.
Because you were part of that team then with Bobby to get the what was it he talked about? Get the giant to reawaken or something, wasn't it? Or the sleeping giant.
Reawaken the elephant in the room was reawaken the giant. I think that was the term I used.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's where I was dragged right into that then, and because I had worked with Bobby closely on those circuits or those rally irons, they got the circuit back up. I got involved with that. Initially, it was late in the day when the first one I got involved in. I must say there was a fair bit of work done, but we made it work, and then we had a couple of very good years. in the IRC one year and the European Championship one year. You know, the quality of the entry was fantastic.
Oh,
with
yeah,
lots of those works
quotas, work
charts,
virtuals, and all that. Yeah.
stuff. Was, you know, very good quality of event. But again, to keep it rolling forward, needed a commitment for finance, and the finance commitment was minimal compared to some of those other events. But Northern Ireland government didn't feel it was. Don't want to put his money behind it, so I kind of withered in that, and Bobby didn't want to be spending his own money, and so
you can understand that, you know. Too,
I can understand that, all right. So that's when it dithered back again to become they're not the rally it was. That the way to put it. It's now called the Easter stages or whatever, but certainly it's a very mediocre version of what.
But at the same time, if it hadn't been for Bobby, I don't think there would be a Circuit Ireland now at all. I think it would have disappeared.
I don't think there'd be anything at all. That Easter stages last few years has been a two-day rally, which is, you know, it's a sufficient mileage for being around to the Irish Tarmac Championship, but it certainly doesn't have the buzz or the aplomb of other things. So.
Yeah. And just to talk about Bobby, do you see the World Championship coming back here next year? What's your thoughts on
2021? I wouldn't like to bet on it because you'd be very close to it. It could fall either way at the minute. That's the way to put it. I think Bobby, as always, is very tenacious. He'll try everything as possible to make it happen. He's certainly knocking the right doors. He'll sell it. He'll do everything as possible to make it happen. There's a number of risks involved, but I could, if I was a betting man, I'd say it'll probably will happen, but there's a whole lot of things have to line up. There's, you know, not only the Northern Ireland government and the money, but some money from Westminster, one thing from us. The FIA must have to want it as well, and I think they're very much behind it, or Bobby Soldier. And last but not least, the motorsport clubs in Northern Ireland have to want it as well.
They have to be prepared to maybe lose a road closing order, or, you know, supply marshals
and supplied the manpower that's going to take to actually run it. And you know, you don't run a WRC event on the number of marshals you run on any national event, and they require a lot of training. There's a lot of work and that sort of stuff. So, but I would say,
fingers crossed.
Get yourself lined up that the Ulster is going to happen. Have to happen some other date rather than the last weekend in August. That's the way to put it.
And the good thing about it is, from a tourism point of view, it's happening in August. That was probably the one sort of downside of Rally Ireland, was the time of the year it run. You know, so like, can you imagine Torhead or Hamilton's Folly, and if the sun shines, what that would do for tourism? You know, it just would be phenomenal.
You're absolutely right. Rally Ireland couldn't happen at the worst time in November and January. You know, in terms of the weather and the rain and the dark nights and cold. And if you can get an event to happen in August when you have a much better chance, reasonable weather, you say the sunshine over Torhead or Hamilton's Folly, and a helicopter following some of those leading cars would make absolutely brilliant TV. You know. And the other thing is, there's a big enough gap since the WRC was here before that a lot of those guys won't have the knowledge and kind of experience of here. So, if the rally does happen, you could find a few trying to come to do a few rallies in Ireland as a bit of practice and things like that, you know. So,
Donegal.
whatever. You can sell it, Kevin, sure to be here. So. You want to get Neville and OJ lined up there outside the Mount Errigal, and it'll be good.
Be magic,
yeah.
So, 2010, you were climbing back into a rally car again with this Fisher name come back again, Alastair. Did that give you a lot of pride just to see the name back? You know, the Fisher noble name back in the rally cars?
It kind of did. That came about because Rory had been doing the British Championship, and I like the Irish Championship as well, with Alastair in that Evo 9. And for some reason, don't remember why, Rory wasn't available to do the Lakeland stages, which is Alastair's home round of the Northern Ireland Championship. So I got a call and I said, "Oh yeah, I'd love to go." So jumped into this Evo 9, organisers' notes, and away we went, and we headed off immediately, you know, and won the rally. It was tight.
Jonny Greer and yourselves.
Jonny Greer we were equal going into the last stage, and we nicked it by a second, so you couldn't get a pile closer than that.
No.
But we had a good day out, and we gelled well. Is that the important part of it, you know?
Yes.
He listened to me, and he liked what he was hearing, and it all worked. There was no drama. There was no falling out. It just clicked. And then that was the one-off rally I did with Ali at that time. Then our paths didn't cross for 2013, I think it was again, because he went and did JWRC in that Fiesta for a while.
That's right. Yes.
Well, it was good, and then I joined Jonny Greer and
Daniel Barry as well too.
Danny Barry was another.
Daniel Barry
came in Evo 9. We did some rally, did some BRC events with him, did Pirelli, I remember that quite well, and a few rallies at home, and then he got an Evo 10. And we spent a few rallies trying to get that developed, for want of a better term. It had come as a racing car from JRM really, and it was grand. It can round smooth corners, but showed a bump, and it wanted to go everywhere except round the bloody corner. So we spent a few rallies trying to get that tweaked. And I would say Daniel spent whatever number of rallies did in that Evo. He probably done 10 rallies, and every rally we come back and we had to adjust something or do something else or do it during the event. And he was kind of the development man that developed the car for them nearly. Keith Cronin had to go and won in Donegal one year and couldn't get it to work either. And that those early days, if you know. Right, so Daniel's not another good driver, another sit back and steer man that could work the best.
He's very fast and very underrated too. He doesn't get the
he's had a few sporadic outings this last while. We had a few wins as well. We won a rally in Bolton last, for instance, won that outright. We were second in Donegal Harvest one year. We were leading the rally.
Mayo, I remember too.
I was going to say we were leading in Mayo for a while, and then we ended up not on the podium and stuff. So never far away, never far away. And then Jonny Greer was another man in the DS3 for a while. Did the British. Sorry, we went with Jonny in an Evo 9 first in the Manx.
Right.
Again, a very underrated, very quiet fella who doesn't sell his ability, but he can steer the best. One of
them boys that just quietly goes about the thing, isn't
steer
it?
the best, and he takes notions of fast boy. Manx was good. We were challenging for the race that year. Was Keith Cronin and Gwyndaf, and we were mixing it with them. We had one. The one thing that I remember that we had one monumental moment. There's a road that takes you from a ford up towards Glen Rushen Mines, quite narrow, up through a few corners of cattle grid and then a long straight and a bump and then a big long straight. But it was absolutely torrential rain, two big tracks of water running down the road, and we were in Evo 9 on a slick tyre, and in fifth gear, whatever speed, the thing just went completely sideways. I mean, 90 degrees to where we should have been going. And I tell you, those two boys sitting in there just holding on, hoping that something would happen. And it landed back on the friggin' tarmac where we're supposed to go. And I kind of sat there and read the note and on ahead, but it scared the life out of Jonny. If I didn't know where we were going to end up. What the important thing was, immediately afterwards, the next couple of stages, whenever Gwyndaf and Cronin were still having the race, we were still competitive with them, and right up there as well. Very much. So then we won the Lakeland.
That's right. You come back and won that
year.
Yes.
The same year. Another good, really good race. Gary Jennings was there in his Group A Subaru, which is a good car. Big Barry McNulty with him, and we're gonna have a dice with them. There was, I don't know what the figure was.
I could say he was having a real good year, and
he was having a very good year in that Irish tarmac damage. It was less than 10, and it was that way about 6, 7, 8. I don't know what it was. And young Mark Donnelly, now Mark Donnelly flooring rather than Mark Donnelly electrical. If that makes difference to you, it makes a difference to me. He was only a handful of seconds behind us, and on the last stage of the rally, which is the long stage through that balanced tempo for us, Gary slipped off on the
end of the stage,
inside of a corner, actually near the end of the stage, and Johnny went, he's off, and you could hear him going, I said, no, you man, Mark's only a couple of seconds behind us, keep on going. So got the end of that rally and won there. That was good. That was a real good feeling. And then DS3 then was a bit of a learning for me. We were in the British Championship going quite good. We had one or two podiums. We didn't win any, but there were a few podiums here and there, which was, we certainly weren't sort of slack anywhere.
No.
It's good.
Very good. They probably, spectator that they probably weren't great to watch, but they were so competitive. It was tenths of seconds and hundreds of seconds just realised were fighting over, wasn't it?
It was very, very close indeed. I think that's the thing about all cars that don't look that spectacular from the outside. When you're in them competing, you realise how close to the edge you are. And there was DS3s. People used to complain about the Evos, you know, looking kind of boring on the outside. But then you telling you when you're in them and you know you're on the edge.
Again,
that's what it's about.
It's the driver makes a difference in them cars too, isn't it? Because they
yeah.
all are so similar
Yeah.
the way they're built.
Yeah. So there we are now.
So then back with Alastair then for the World Championship, the Citroen Top Driver, wasn't it? Not the championship.
It was called Citroen Top Driver, which is the Junior World Championship in 2013 and 14. We did. 13 when away we went, and some very good stage times. As with ever with Alastair, always very competitive and good preparation. The speed was fantastic. Like, we had a mighty dice with Keith Cronin. All these other guys came from all over Europe, and we're still racing against the same guy we have been doing whenever we're in Ireland. It was very good, very, very close racing. You know, I can remember in Portugal again. There wasn't one of those stages that was, I don't know, it's a long stage, 25, 30 minutes, maybe even more than 30 minutes, 50 odd Ks. And I think Cronin must come out the second half apart or something, you know. And the next guy was Chardonnay. And then a guy called Brian Buffy, who won Monty a couple of years later, was another 25, 30, he was 40 seconds behind us, you know. So that's how close it was in there. Well, we had a few hiccups as well. We were having a big race in Finland where I think we were 10 up. And unfortunately, we had an accident. Quite a good accident. Was that you want to call it good? Good is bad, big one.
Yeah.
Yoke was kind of scrap. So that put paint to that. That's kind of end of the year, to be quite honest. It was. We then didn't go to do the next round in Germany. We stayed and did some Irish Tarmac Championship events actually.
But even just look, even you're saying about Finland, like you and yourselves and Keith Cronin and Marshall Clerk were having some battle. Like, again, you're away 20, 30 seconds ahead of and like there was Finnish guys, French guys, all these hot shots, you know, and it was the two Irish guys that was showing how
the paddies were out front. Yeah, it just shows the level of kind of competitive there is in Ireland, you know. I think people immediately think when you talk about Ireland, you think about the Chris Meeks. But Keith Cronin is a very, very good driver. You can assure you, very fast guy. Like turns his hand in very many different cars.
Jump into anything and drive fast, you know. And like,
I think from our perspective, it was great to have him there as our benchmark as well. You know, somebody we'll talk to and see where we're going. And we weren't going to give up easily. Is that the way to put it? But you know. It's good to have him there as someone to race against.
Yeah, and like Cronin is 4 BRC titles as well, you know, so it just shows the caliber of driver he is, and again, probably hasn't got the full recognition he deserves either, you know, so probably just hasn't the budget to take it to that next level, and that's the unfortunate side of it.
Back to that quiz question there, Kevin. That Keith Cronin's won 4 British Championships with 4 cars and 4 different co-drivers. So somebody will work it out based on
yes. I'm not going to try and work it out now. Make a fool out of myself.
Well, then I think the next step from that was Ali and I went then to do the 2014 Junior World Championship stroke Citroen top driver, whatever it's called, P3 it was called, and had as it turned out, our Portugal run was a disaster. It shouldn't have been. We had a very good drive. We were comfortably in the lead by 1 minute and 40 seconds on the last stage on Saturday, and Sunday was going to be a short day of 45 k's or something. Right. But unfortunately, I'd say only a K and a half or 2 Ks from the end of the last stage on Saturday. We hit a tree with the center of the bonnet, which wasn't a good aim. But that not only put us into Super Rally, but put us out of the rally. By the time we got the car dragged out and back to service, and you normally have 3 hours in those WRC events to repair the damage for Super Rally, but the guys went to strip it and found that the block was cracked. That's how hard it hit that tree. So there was no repairing that. So unfortunately, from having a very, very strong position, leading by a long way, we scored 0 there. But then as the year went on, we had a lot of very good scores and very consistent in the middle of the year, you know. We could have been better in Germany, where we had a puncture and stopped and changed. Finland, we had a bloody disaster, but got a few points before we ended up with four punctures. How you do that in one rally, I don't know. But one of them where the wheel jammed on, we couldn't get the wheel off, and that dropped probably 2 minutes on the stage, 2.5 minutes on the stage. But we got up a few points. Is that the way to put it? Before the end of it. But then we went to France to the Alsace rally, and which should have been our weakest event, because the French guys done the rally before.
Their backyard, more or less.
They're literally their backyard. The guy that became the Ford Works driver then lived very close by.
Lever.
No, not Lefebvre, the other guy.
Oh yes. Oh,
if you remember, you'll tell me. But anyway, we went there and we did a very, very good recce, and from the outset we were fastest, like, and stuck at it the whole weekend. And I would say it's one of Ali's best performances, or our best performances over the years. All those guys were local. The French Federation had paid for 6 of those drivers to come there to compete on that rally. We were consistently fast and always ahead of them. And yes, we beat Lefebvre, we beat Chardonnay, we beat that could be guy with black hair, bloody hell, his name. Don't worry about it. But it's good.
Yes.
Rosset was there as well. All those guys. We had a fantastic run there, and we beat Kochi, who was our main championship rival, as well as Lefebvre. Great satisfaction coming home from that one. Then went to Rally GB, and again dominated there. We were very good all the way through. A few difficulties. We had a puncture near the end of one of the stages in the dark, but it was near the end and didn't cause any trouble. But got through another very strong performance. Two wins out of the six rounds. But unfortunately, Lefebvre beat us by a point, and then he became works driver for the year after, and then works driver for the year after that again. So I think that's the story. Alastair Speed has always been very, very good. If you go back to the years he was racing Craig Breen and racing Elfin, there was very little time between the guys.
It just seemed to be done with bad luck a lot of the time too.
And back to that ST Fiesta Championship, where he was doing very well. He had a oil cooler failure on one of the rallies. The engine blew up. There's not very little you can do with things like that.
And probably a complete freak. It never really ever happened in a Fiesta before.
Small things make a big difference in those.
Unfortunately,
So it was good. Great satisfaction to go and do those events. And I don't think people that haven't been to compete on around the World Rally Championship realise how difficult it is, how much work you have to put in, how busy the week is. You're not just there for couple of days racing about. You see the TVs a few stages. It seems handy, but I'm sure it's busy and there's a lot of preparation involved. And those years we were leaving on Saturday or Sunday, and there was a test day on Monday. There was recce Tuesday, Wednesday. And you watch a DVD at night, then you would watch the recce over again at least twice. You'd have a busy day on Thursday with shakedown and ceremonial start, and then you had long days. It wouldn't be unknown that you'd be getting up at 5:30 or 6 every day, not back in the bed till 11 at night, and then watch the DVD.
I was just going to say, I probably watch the DVD then for the next day, then before you get
hard work, but it's good.
And then back to working probably the Tuesday morning, and
sometimes Monday morning if you get a flight.
This I remember, I think it was Damien Connolly, the Dintman family, one of them years the ERC was here. I was saying, what is the difference between like Barable there and Mickelson? Mickelson will be going to Portugal and be stepping into a car on Tuesday. Robert will be stepping onto the forecourt trying to sell a car on Tuesday morning.
Tuesday morning, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah. For sure, it's a big difference. Like and your brain becomes acclimatized to the speed and the bass notes and all those other things that whereas if you're working at your you're working at your laptop thinking about steel or thinking about business or selling someone all day every day, you have to carry that as well as the rally stuff.
And that's probably still in the back of your head too when you're in a rally car too. Like it's somewhere at the back of your head that you probably try and switch it off, but it's still there.
About that. Yeah, exactly right.
2015, back to South Africa. It was a bit of a
bit of a story behind this outing, I suppose. Robbie Head, who had been friends with and contact with over the years, was out living there actually, and we moved this. One of Robbie's businesses was supplying parts for mine machines into South Africa, and he went down there to live.
Okay.
And he was living close to this boy called Jappie van Niekerk. And the South African Championship at that time was moving from completely blind rallies to having a DVD with a set of organisers' notes. Okay.
Right. Okay.
So then I'd had that for 2 years, I think. But then in 2015, they were going to allow a single pass recce as well as the DVD and the notes.
Tidy up your notes then.
So Robbie came up with this great idea. We get somebody from UK to come out, to go with Jappie and try and build this paste note work up. So that's where my call came, and I went out to do a few rallies with this guy who I'd never met before. It turned out a fantastic guy, really nice guy, very good businessman, and owns a few shopping malls, not a few shops, but a few shopping malls.
Okay.
With a Super 2000 Ford, a Fiesta. So we went out and we spent a few days trying to perfect this paste note system and the recce and what you do, and looking at the DVD compared to the organizer notes and how you could refine them and what you do in them. So we had made a set of notes. We'd taken the organizer notes, looked at the DVD, refined them, then went and did the single pass recce. Did the first rally and got on reasonably well. We didn't win. We were competitive in quite a number of stages. It was down in Durban where actually Alastair McRae and I had done the rally 7 or 8, maybe 10 years previously.
Okay.
Similar area, but not the same stages. Fewing through these sugarcane fields, which are like sugarcane grows to about 6 or 7 foot tall at the edge of the road. You're driving down a tunnel, you can't see anything all around it, if you know what I mean. So you have to be relying on the notes heavily because these narrow, fast roads. But a reasonably good run there, and then we went back to do the second round of the championship. Again, went out a bit early, spent more time working on these notes, and a couple of stages were close to where Jappie lived, so he was familiar with a few of them, and then that didn't help because he was going to make notes were faster for the stages he knew than the other ones, and there was a bit of leveling up done to try and make all that work. But I think a lot of people have seen this infamous video then from the Sabi Super Special where we were on a tarmac road in the middle of a town where there was a 2-car start, and then you went up, and the way the system worked, there was laps, but each car did the same amount, but you went and there was a crossover in the middle.
Yes, okay.
But one of the bits was up a two-lane road where both of us should have been up, and then one turned in later. But the guy in the Volkswagen Polo was on the stage the same time as us. He spun as we were coming out of a long flat out right hand corner. He decided to do a U-turn in the middle of the road. As he was doing his U-turn, he didn't see us because we were on his blind side. He was on a right hand drive car, so he turned out in front of us while we were in fourth and fifth gear, I think. So the front right hand corner or my corner of our Fiesta caught the front of his Polo. Took my wheel off, flattened the floor up round my feet, spun us round, put him backwards through a bit of a fence. But the more worrying thing was it put us up against a wee footpath, and the spectators were only standing behind a wee pedestrian barrier.
Okay.
And we were extremely lucky not to catch the barrier and catch some of those people. The consequences could have been a lot worse.
Yes.
Our car was subsequently had to go back to Cockermouth to be actually shelled. That's how much damage was done to it. Like so, one of those split-second experiences that could have been quite a lot worse. So that actually ended. Jappie then give up rallying on the back of that because he fell out with. This was the Volkswagen works team, the guy that had hit us. Jappie was very keen that they should be compensating him, and they were saying no, it wasn't their fault. And he eventually stopped rallying. He got the car rebuilt and took it back home, and he was trying to sell it. I'm not sure if he still has it or not. Wherever else he did a bit of off-road rallying since, but has kind of stepped away from the rally. And then Big Al rang again, Big Alastair McRae, man. We went back to China for another go out there. Stuart Loudon had actually been doing a couple of rallies with him out there with another team. And Stuart couldn't go for some reason. I don't know if but I went out and we did another rally up on the Mongolian border, the very north end of China, which is fantastic experience. Yes. McShay and actually Rory were out doing the same rally. All three of us travelled by different means to get to the same rally in the middle of China, believe it or not. it's good to see some locals out there.
Well, you talk about planes, trains, and automobiles, isn't it?
I
Race
think that was a bit of that.
for
Absolutely, we all ended up in different ways. Fantastic rally on big open plains and not quite desert, but similar to desert, and camels running about and that sort of stuff. Our car, we're in a CH Benova, which is a Chinese Saab, for want of a better term, with Mitsubishi running gear in it. That's how it all adds up. But that's what they make out there. We, on that rally, retired 3 times. We retired on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So that shows you what we're at. But it wasn't our fault.
But again, one of them experiences is just going to be, you couldn't set out to do it, could you?
So. You couldn't set out to do it, that's right. But good experience, it was.
And Tony Jardine, then you done Donegal and Rally GB with Tony.
That link went back to no idea how I first did the IRC Rally Scotland, whatever year that was. If you can go back to 2011 or 12 or something. I ended up doing that rally with Tony Jardine and an R2 Fiesta. Not sure how the link was made, but we obviously the contact was made and whoever else. So he wanted to come to do Donegal, and I wasn't doing the rally. Alastair wasn't doing that event. If you remember, we'd started the circuit in 2015, but it unfortunately crashed in stage 3 on the patch of oil. So Alastair kind of took a bit of a sabbatical for a while. So went to Donegal with Tony. We weren't the fastest car, but we certainly had plenty of fun on the way around. And Tony took plenty of pictures and tweeted plenty and did lots of social media stuff.
A lot of very positive, stuff for Donegal that year, wasn't it?
Very much. And I mean, he has a huge following. I mean, think of his Formula One links. I mean, there's a lot of people then saw lots of very nice pictures of the county and stuff. So we weren't certainly the fastest, but we had plenty of crack. You know the story about the banana. Tony decided that he's
that's his lunchbox or something.
The lunchbox in the back guy. I'm still at the stage of rallying where I like to be competitive and going fast and going as fast as possible. But we left the guest house. We stayed down in Remelton in a really nice house. And on the Friday morning when we're coming up, we go to driver's briefing. So on, Tony came out with his bag, and I said, bringing a bag, maybe it's a spare t-shirt or whatever he's bringing with him. But I didn't realise the bag had this big lunchbox in. We went to driver's briefing down to Park Fermi, and he brought this lunchbox out and put it in the back. And I kind of, where are we going to? I said, we could make it packaged in the middle of the day. But it's just the service after stage 3 and service after stage 6. You had bananas and peanut bars and bottles of juice and that sort of stuff. But it turned out that he hadn't got the lid on it properly. In the middle of it, halfway through stage 2 of the rally, there's a couple of bumps, and I was fucking reading away at the notes, and the next thing I felt this thing at my elbow, and I looked down, there was a freaking banana at my elbow, and there was a bun at my feet. Oh man, it just was different, Ask anybody who's ever rallied, and you could drive along. I had no idea what it was, but just felt something on my arm. There was a big banana, and then I looked down at my feet. There was a bun that appeared in my feet. So we had to end the stage. Those things had to be gathered up and put away. And of course, I wasn't cross, but I reminded him. I didn't think that was the way to be going, having all this stuff clapping about through the car. So. That was good. We had good fun. We had good fun. And actually, that was Howley's, Martin Howley's car, and that was the last year that Howley was about. And I feel privileged in some ways that Martin Howley was there, and we had a good to crack. Martin came to our pre-event test up at the back of Churchill, the back of Errigal at Churchill Quarries up there.
Yes.
And we had a grand evening crack up there, and on the Saturday night of the rally, went down to Howley's house, and with great bit of banter and stuff like that,
Another man that's greatly missed about Donegal.
Greatly missed. Another fantastic character, really nice guy, and stuff like that. I'll miss him.
Just loved his rallying, didn't he?
I did. And I must say that I think he actually enjoyed the fact that Tony was there and they had plenty of banter and stuff. To give him a bit of a lift. He was all keen to come and spectate. I know he came and spectated on Saturday. I don't think he was able to manage it on Sunday because he'd be late Saturday night. He didn't think he got out, but it was good. It was a good bit of fun. So
very good.
Anyway, it did Rally GB in that same car. That was Raymond Mason's hire car, the Evo 9, which had to be retuned, detuned to run on some pump fuel and stuff like that because Tony didn't want to spend the money on this expensive element. And so that meant we had to allow at least 5 minutes in every freaking road section to stop somewhere and get fuel. We had to call into petrol stations to get fuel. That was another thing that wasn't in my original schedule, stopping every 20 miles for fuel. Well, we good fun, but
Yes.
we didn't win anything. We finished the rally.
Uh-huh.
Tony got quite a lot of press coverage as well. He certainly didn't like. We did the Saturday night. Yeah, was through Haffron and up in there. And Aberhirnant, if you ever heard that forest, it's difficult enough for us in the kind of daytime, like because big rocks in the middle of some big drop offs and things. So, and we did it at night. It was raining. It was foggy, and it certainly wasn't easy. But I tried to remind him that the road is exactly the same whether it's daylight or night, whether it's foggy or not. The road hasn't changed, and the car hasn't changed. Just cap it on the sea. But he didn't like taking risks. He was going to crash and stuff like that. But it generally was good. Now with a good old buzz and got to the end, and he was happy. So.
That was what mattered really for him, wasn't it?
What mattered at the end, yes.
And then back home, then 2016, the Irish Termite Championship had won down the R5 route. And Alastair had always said, that if this happened, he would support rallying at home. So you just got a Fiesta R5 coming back that first year, and what a year it turned out to be. You had Keith Cronin, the Moffats, and all. I know I was one of the doubters that this was going to be. These R5s wasn't going to be that spectacular, but what a year it was, So.
It was good. It was good to be able to prove that the car was. If you take a fast driver like Alastair Fisher, Sam Moffat, Keith Cronin, whoever else, Craig Green more recently in those cars in Ireland. If you take a fast driver in any car, it's going to make it go fast, and it's going to make it look spectacular. Okay, these cars are extremely efficient. They don't slide. They're not Mark II escorts come on sideways at you. But if you get a good guy driving it, you can appreciate he's on the edge and the car's on the edge. Absolutely. And I think the fact that they make a reasonable amount of noise compared to the Turbo Evos or Subarus makes them sound fast from the outside. But you're right, from a championship point of view, you couldn't have really written that script better, because there was at least half a dozen guys in every rally were going to be competitive. You could never have predicted before the rally started who was going to win. And everybody was on the edge. Okay. And as every rally goes on, somebody has an issue or somebody drops out or whatever else. But the championship then stayed extremely close throughout the whole year. We went into the last round. We were leading the championship, but we had to finish Cork 20 ahead of Keith Cronin. If he finished ahead of us, because the way the points in half or the double points, whatever that equation was, if he had beaten us, even if we were fifth and he was fourth, or we were second, he was first. If he beat us, he won the championship. Yes. So our what we had to do was stay ahead of him. And we're making a good effort at it. Like he was a handful of seconds ahead of us, but it was nip and kind of tuck. And Joyce wasn't far away.
Yeah.
I can't remember where Sam was.
He wasn't far away either. Yeah, I think he was thereabouts too. I think.
I can't remember Sam's times, but I remember looking at Joyce's times anyway. But and we're all in the kind of championship race as well. But unfortunately, we ran wide on a mucky corner. Don't know what you call the stage. I could take you back to show you in the map where it was. Ran wide in a mucky corner. The back of the car caught a wall that was covered in moss. It looked quite an innocuous bank. You would have thought you're just going to drive on ahead over this. But the back of it caught a big wall and a stone, and we ended up rolled the car, done right bit of damage. Lay up on our side in the middle of the road, blocked the road and that sort of stuff. But rally over, championship over. And it turned out that by the time the rally was over, we dropped from first in the championship to actually fourth for just having that accident and that one rally. That's the way the points worked out.
It just shows the competitiveness of the nature of it, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And if it survived, we might have been better. But it was one of those things. Hey, we had to make an effort. If we're going to go back tomorrow, we'll do exactly the same again. You wouldn't want to go and foot about like
it's not in your nature just to go and drive round. It's every second counts. Every tenth of a second counts. So.
And that's why you do it as well. Like if nothing wrong with going to do rally GB with Tony. I don't think that evil, but it doesn't give me a buzz, if you know what I mean. I like to be doing something competitive or feel that my contribution is helping in some way and towards the overall stage time or towards the performance at the end. So that's what makes it worthwhile. Like.
Absolutely. And then 2000, you're back again in the championship. Down was it the Ulster, the engine blew or something?
It was, yeah, that was a disaster. That we were having a reasonable rally. Is that the way to put it? We had Donegal wasn't good. We had a series of freaking problems there. We had a chicane and broke a drive shaft, and then we had another exhaust problem, and we didn't have a good rally. Is that the way to put it? We'll still finish. We just still talked about that recently. We left Donegal in 2017, having finished 6th overall and 3rd in our class. We left the prize given the Sunday night. Shows how depressed we were when we were coming home on Sunday night after the prize given at 10 midnight, wherever it was. But we come up the road saying, we're two of us going up here, long out frigging faces. We finished 6th overall in the Donegal rally, and we're kind of depressed.
You get 30 place points here, yeah.
30 place points, and we're kind of depressed. And there's 140 boys entered this rally, and a lot of them would be glad to even get to the end. So that's the kind of level of competitiveness where you were disappointed to have that kind of result, But the Ulster then was kind of the final nail in the coffin for the year, because we still had a good chance in the Irish Tarmac Championship. Went to the Ulster to race the BRC guys, and we'd been very competitive in the Ulster previous year against Elfin and Tom Cave and everything else. But unfortunately, on the second stage, which is very local to me, it's only 15 mile away, the road had been freshly surfaced on a fresh pile of chippings on it. And somehow some of those stones got up and took off our alternator belt. But if we'd switched it off at the start of this, when we saw it, we probably would have been grand, and whatever else we could have super rally. But you don't do that. You think it's not that bad. We'll keep her going. She'll hardly hate much. And
that's no miserable day. It's not that hot.
4 mile, I suppose. And the engine decided we were going no more, so we parked up at the top of Rylands Road, which I would cycle on all day, and sat there for a few hours in the rain. Eventually somebody came and towed us back and told us the bad news that she needed an engine, and the story was over for a while, but it's a pity, because the Ulster's a rally that normally suits Alastair. A bit like Galway, it can be the surface can't always be predictable, it's a bit slippy and can be guttery, and you have to drive with your wits, drive with your eyes, and look for the sort of grip as well as everything else. A good gravel crew are a big advantage in those sort of conditions as well. That they can tell you where you get grip and where you can go and where you can't.
Where you can gain a wee bit or you can lose a wee bit.
Yeah, where you need to be cautious and where you can be braver and stuff.
Yes. You're very lucky. You just have two very good men there for your.
We can't say we could look for anything better with Stephen Whitford and Derek Branning, and I've been doing gravel notes for us for the last 3 years, I suppose. Those are Chris Meeks guys as well. Chris and us trust them impeccably. Whatever they say goes, and they're very good and know what they're doing. And people think it's a handy out kind of number. You just go out and drive around the road and fire back the notes, but it's a lot more to it than that. I suppose at the level that Chris makes that, and sometimes we'll do that as well. It's very important part of what we're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those guys come back with information which is detailed. There's no you don't want a big essay back either. You just need a few simple directions as to what's happening.
Precise and concise, isn't it?
Precise, whatever you want to call it, in the right place, the right time, the right level of detail. And they're excellent at doing that for us, and it's a big help for us. It not only gives you confidence in your stage and your driving, but it's confidence in everything else that's happening around you. And they'll keep an eye on. They're not naive. They'll be driving about the rally if they see anything that's relevant. They'll certainly tell you. Certainly a big asset to us.
That's one less thing you have to worry about. You just know it's done and it's done right.
Yeah, it's done. Don't have to query. We have discussions before the rally and during the rally and everywhere else, and so you just rely on they were going to go and do it, and they're going to come back. There's never a question or query that it's not going to happen. So that's good. Yeah. So,
Alastair's took a bit of a year out in 2018, but you sat a few times with another hero, local hero here, Paul Barrett. What a man! Again, such a natural talent behind the wheel of a rally car too, isn't he?
He's a good lad. He can steer, and he likes to rev it as well, which is good to know. That's part of the buzz of being in the BDA is making the noise. But there's lots of boys can rev them, but don't actually go anywhere. But he's good at revving it and making it go as well. You get traction, making it go forward. very good driver, and a good natural balance. I think that's how I would call it. Enjoys going fast. Enjoys revving it. We did two rallies. I think we did. The Bushwhacker was kind of supposed to be the warm up, but it became a right good race. Young Croston and us had a bit of a dice, and Shane McGear as well. We came out top, which was kind of lucky enough, I think, but. 90 day in the forest down here, and there's no denying that I've been through them forest plenty of times. I mean, I've rarely ever competed in that.
That's what I was going to say. It's probably a bunch you've very rarely competed on.
I think that's only the fourth time I've ever done the Bushwhacker Rally. If you quickly go back to where I said earlier on, I think I've been clerk of the course 12 times. And every other year I seem to be doing someone else, so I've rarely ever competed. But I wouldn't be naive, and I know my way around. But that's not the same. No. I have to still tell him where to go when he has to listen and drive it. Wherever. And the Bushwhacker is different because everybody's just. I know it's a bit like Jonny Go. I suppose everybody makes a wee bit more effort, or puts a wee bit more effort in.
That's not the Ober Grand Prix for nothing, is it?
But we had a mighty day that day. We had a really good day. We had really good speed. Remember coming off the one of those leader stages, and it's very fast at the end, like, and we were fourth gear and it revving and then selecting into fifth and kept revving and kept it going, and both of us came to the friggin' stop car. All we do was laugh. We couldn't even say you've got to the end, it's over. All we did was laugh. But then the laughing and yo-ho stopped quickly because we went to Track Road Rally then 2 weeks later, I think it was. And I suppose we were kind of assuming that we're still having the same grip levels we had in kind of Bushwhackers. Is that the way to put it? But we're over there, and there was a very marbly top, and we were second or third car on the road, I think.
Because Paul had been the historic champion the year before.
Had been the historic champion, yeah, but somebody else. So we just kind of, I think I was saying, we assumed we had the same amount of grip we had on kind of Bushwhacker, and it was dark, and took off, and he was up for a big fight because there's a few guys over there that he's quite friendly with over the years, been rallying against him, and they were all up for the big fight. Matthew Robinson is a local guy up there, and he's fast guy. Young Edwards, who's doing the British Championship in that Swift Fiesta, he was there in a Fiat, for instance.
The 131,
yeah, there's plenty of opposition. A few other guys that are fast guys as well. So big effort, and went down to the first junction and spun, which didn't help. It was basically, there was, I can't remember, notes were 300 crest, 300, and there was about 3 or 4 crests, and then you turn square left. We went on past the junction and spun and come back. Down the road we went again, and there's a big long crest into a left-hand corner called Kankanen's Corner. We Kankanen off in the RAC in the mid-80s and blind. Of course, we come wheeling out of this, and I read the note, and I had just started to repeat it again, and I thought, oh no, here we go. And we went sliding off sideways, caught the edge of the bank, upside down, in the middle of in the forest, in the dark, of course, lights out, black dark. You all right? I get out. So we clambered out, but we were only half out of the door, and if there was spectators come run with torches, and then you'd blind it in the eye, and you're all right, and I've got out. But by the time we could roll back onto our wheels and looked at her, and we dropped 6 or 7 minutes by the time we got her back on the wheels and that sort of stuff, and I was kind of looking at the watch thinking, what length's the stage, what's the maximum, what's the penalty going to be here? And we realised we weren't going anywhere. When we had a flat wheel to change, or put a spare on, and somebody very cleverly got us the windscreen was broken, but somebody very cleverly got the actual rubber around it, because those cars are not it's not just glued in. You have to have a rubber to put in. Somebody very cleverly took through the glassway and give us the rubber back, stuck it into the car, and Gordy got the map out and found a back lane out of this forest from where we're parked. Drove down the lane. Of course, there's a gate lock, but somebody came and opened the gate. That is out when we drove back to service, and that was a bit of a panic then for the rest of the night to get the yokes squared up. I mean, mechanically, she was fine. The 4 wheels in the right place. Just the roof was down, the screen was out of her.
Yes.
Boys worked really hard.
Big stage.
And then the guy, I can't call him Gravy, but I know everybody calls him Gravy, but I can't remember his proper name. He used to work for Mitsubishi for years and has been in Ireland 100 times. But anyway, Gravy knew somebody down in the local village that would have some bits for Mark II. So we hopped into the van and we down into this town, into Pickering it was, and he took us around to this guy and found a shed, and the boy was already there. Somebody's phone and got him opened. He had port of power for pushing the roof back up. He had a whole lot of other bits. He had a spare bit of rubber for the windscreen. He got a bit of string to put it back in. He had a glass for the door. We had all the bits. We got all this back up into the service shed is up in the middle of the forest, in the middle of Dalby. Boys worked at her till late at night. Like, put her back together again, down the road, went to bed, get up in the morning, back up. And those 6 stages on Saturday, we were fastest in 5 of them, but we'd lost 15 minutes. So it's good to go into it. And the satisfaction you get out of going to somewhere new like that with a new driver, reading the notes, him listening to me, wise man, and he's not for listening to like me, tell him that sort of stuff. But we had a grand bit of race, quite good. Result wasn't good, but the speed was very good. Say 5 out of 6 fastest times on Saturday.
Well, like that must be some buzz too, like that. Fifth gear now, like a BDA.
Fifth gear, and you're up there and screaming at and you're looking for more. Then and that's good whenever it's singing along like that. And you need to have a proper guy driving it. There's no good just making it rev and going over. You need to get a guy that's going to rev it, make it go forward, and look for the grip out of the corners. It's all the simple things that get you a good stage time at the end. But the culmination of that then was we tried to do the Roger Albert Clerk rally in the end of 2019. And that's a huge event. I mean, that's 5 or 6 national rallies squeezed into five days, like.
And different regions of the UK as well. It's not just
the UK, and the logistics are phenomenal. And you're allowed chase cars, which is from a co-driver's point of view or from a coordinator's point of view, it's a lot of work to try and fit all that back together. Again, back to what we used to do in the early 90s when you used to go to a rally and you had 75 chase points. This was back to that again. When we went there with an aspiration of being competitive, I suppose, is the simple way to put it. You had your Marty McCormick had won the rally a couple of times in the past. Roger Chilman, who's Pritchard was there. He's local in Wales. Roger Chilman had won the rally a few years previously. All these guys are sharp. They know where they're going.
Adrian Hillington had done the British Historic Championship and gearing up for that.
Absolutely not. He was going to be going hard. Everybody was. But we felt we had a chance. We're not going to be cocky and say we're going to be at the lead. But we felt we'd be in the mix of the top 5 or 6, and we're going with that attitude that if we could stick at it, get to the end, you never know what would happen. But knowing BDAs, they're a bit like, I don't know what you're like, a bit like children's backside. It just exploded without warning. Well, we only done 4 or 5 mile of the first stage on the morning, and cracking, and the thing just exploded. And all you had to do was start making phone calls about trying to get a ferry home and all that sort of stuff, and everybody else was going to do another 4.5 days. That's the down.
So gutting that, isn't it? Just to be stuck there.
You do all that preparation and you spend all that money. He had rebuilt that car from front end to back. That's not the only time that has happened in people's lives. I mean, that's been happening in rallying for a number of years, and that's what's the way it goes,
Unfortunately, yes. And Alastair then with the comeback for 2019, what a year that turned out to be for the Irish Tarmac Championship. Craig Breen coming back from the World Championship, the Moffats, Callum Devine, everybody just seemed to step up another level, didn't they? So.
I think the fact that Craig was there made everybody step up to the mark. He was going to be the benchmark, and the fact that the guy he's rallying full time, his brain is full time rallying. That's all he does, and he was going to be sharp inevitably. But we went out with the effort that we were going to be as competitive as possible, and we went to Galway and we got a slender lead. Is that the way to put it? But then we spun on stage 4. Handed it back 9 or 10 seconds or 11 seconds. I ended up 14 down the end of the rally, and I think that was the kind of the story for the rest of the season. Then we were always thereabouts, but we never could quite get kind of past them, if you know what I mean. I would say that Killarney was probably the best rally we've done for a long time. The margins were very, very small. Callum was there as well. He was hot.
Every stage it was like 2 seconds just rocked, and then the next stage maybe Callum took 2 back or whatever.
Back and
Craig then maybe took 3 the next stage, and it was just absolutely bonkers, wasn't it?
So I don't remember exactly the margins then, but I think we were about. Craig beat us by 12, and Callum was something like 16 behind us at the end of the rally. So tight going. For 2 days on dry tarmac, on the edge, no errors. To do Cod's Head and our groom twice, from a competitor's perspective, that loop of stages is absolutely fantastic.
And probably the two of the best stages in Ireland, didn't they? Like,
Well, they're
really,
right up there. No matter who, I don't care who you talk to. I mean, they're right up there with the Atlantic drives and all that sort of stuff as well. You know, they're very, very demanding roads. Don't take anything away from that. And you need to have very good notes. You need to listen to the notes as well. And the important thing about that rally was that those stages hadn't been run in that particular direction. In our kind of memory anyway. So nobody had a previous knowledge of them. And away we went and had real good dice through there, you know. And you came to the end knowing you'd made an effort, but you never know where you're going to be 3 up or three down, or what you're going to be, you know. So it's,
you could feel as if you had the perfect stage, and some they still had to take 2 seconds or 3 seconds out. You know, so.
We never came out of a stage on that rally felt we'd done anything particularly wrong, but a couple of times we never got wiped. I'm sure you about that, but you know, Moll's Gap on the Sunday morning, we thought we'd made a fair effort, but we're still 2.5 seconds down from the quickest. Now, that's a very, very minor margin, like very minor margin. but we're still only third fastest behind Callum and Craig, you know? And we thought we'd done a right good job. So the margins are small, but that's what it's about. That's what gives you the buzz and the satisfaction and the will to go back and do it. And we still haven't learned any other sense, but someday we will do.
Well, what do we say about 2020? Like, started off fantastically well for you.
You couldn't have asked better for us. On the back of what we've done in 2019, I think we kind of kept moving forward with it, with what we had built up. New car, which is a bit of a brave move maybe in many people's eyes, but you know that Volkswagen Polo is a very, very good chassis.
But it's very unproven here, like, you know.
I don't believe it's the engine is any faster than Ford would be, but the chassis is certainly a lot more taut. You know, there's a lot less. It's more of a racing type car. But we had a relatively the first test we had was actually aborted because we tried to do a test and it snowed on us and it froze, so we couldn't get anything done. You were there that morning. We had it packed up and went home and kind of depressed, didn't do anything. Then we had a short test on the Wednesday, Thursday before that. Whatever night it was. Did a few Ks. Ali put it in the field and back out again. Wasn't a great omen maybe, but we went to Galway with the attitude we were going to go and make an effort. You know, went to the first stage. Like every rally, when you go to the first stage, you don't know who's going to go fast, who's going to go slow. But we did our own effort.
Because everybody had kind of changed to new colours.
People changed. The Moffats were in Hyundais, and Joe was there in the new Fiesta, and there was a whole lot of new things about it.
Donna was in the Polo, and Donna Henry in the Hyundai.
So Donna was in the Polo and had driven the Polo before. We thought this is going to be a bit of a marker, you know. We were faster than the first stage by I think 4 seconds, maybe off the top of my head. But Ali wasn't. We didn't know what time we'd done. We were on the first car on the road. Came out of the first stage. He said, "Don't know. This Stokes a wee bit kind of stuff here. We need to get our slackened off." And we pulled in just at the stage exit, and didn't get anybody else's times because the press or you guys were about another half a k up at the next crossroads. You know, on the main road. So we went in and started doing our adjustments to take the wheel. You have to take the wheel off to do the suspension flicks and all that sort of stuff. And then by the time we had all that done, drove up, we didn't have time to stop and chat to the press to find out how we get on. But we're 4 up. But we went into the second stage again, thinking this is going to be a wee bit better, but we'll still have to make put a bit of push on. And we suddenly jumped another 10.5 or 11 seconds on the second stage, which was very surprising to us. You know, we knew we'd done a quite a good stage, but we didn't think we had been as fast as that compared to the others. So then I think on the third stage was just Black Road, which is notorious for its shiny tar and catchy bits and everything else. I think we probably tempered it a wee bit again. Maybe not tempered is the wrong term, but just were careful on the bad bits.
Again, going back to your gravel crew was probably had give you
very much. And information was very accurate. We knew it was slippy. We knew it was shiny. Well, the shiny mark from our own wrecking maybe, but any of those other bits were in. And thankfully, we were able to manage that and keep it going. And won the rally. You couldn't ask for anything better. It was kind of a copybook run for us, you know.
Yeah.
But then you must remember Sam and Donagh particularly were having a real good battle. They were
nipping at each other
within
again.
seconds of each other, and we had to stay at a minimum at doing that kind of pace. We couldn't
You couldn't
back
slacken
off.
at all. Yeah.
No. But it was fantastic then to get Alastair's name on the name of as a winner of a round of the Irish Tarmac Championship, and it's the first time I've won a round in the Irish Tarmac Championship as well. I must say, so, very satisfying. But then, as we know, that the way the world changed, not just rallying changed it.
But it's just even there at Galway, like, you know, I was there to finish, and to see the emotion from the two, is like Alastair's normally such a cool, calm character. You could just see it was really getting to him. Like Austin McNeil there, his dad, everything there. It just, I think it was all hit him, didn't it?
It all added up, yeah. All that added up is right. Like he could, it was been welling up on him for the last stage. You must remember the last stage of the rally. We went at that last stage with whatever the lead was, and there was plenty of opportunities for having a spin or popping off the road, like whatever. So there was a bit of pressure on, but you know, he managed it extremely well. He doesn't get frustrated. He just calmly sits in and drives the car and things like that. But you know, the whole thing went up in the air from after. West Cork could have been the most interesting rally for years if it had happened. I believe
Alastair had swapped cars again, hadn't they? Went to the new.
Well, there's an opportunity to come up then to drive the new. The Mark II Fiesta, and he spent a couple of days testing that car down in the Cork Kerry direction with Matt Edwards and Ray Yates were both there, and the three of them shared the driving over three days. So he felt it was an opportunity to go and try that car. Is that the way to put it? You know, the entry was in for West Cork and that car. Craig was back again. All the other guys were the British Championship guys was going to be there. I mean, Matt Edwards and Tom Cave were coming. We had our regular Irish guys, you know, the Desi Henrys and the Moffats, and everybody else was back again. So,
and like, as you say, Craig was there in the works. High on the too. Like they were sending over, you know, the car from Jonny or whatever too. You know, so
that would have been one hell of a good car to try and chase. Is that the way to put it? Or you know, and who knows what would have developed out of that? You know, but. Didn't happen, and this is where we are now. We haven't heard the noise of the car for
too long.
10 months now it is, or something. Okay, a few guys have been very lucky and been able to go and travel to Europe and do some European Championship events, but most of us have sat at home and just looked at it on the TV screen. So we'll have to see what will develop from there, you know.
Do you miss it?
Oh, do I? Of course I do. I miss a whole lot of bits. I missed the build up before the rally. You don't realise that you had the level of anticipation before you go to an event. You know, you do a wee bit of preparation. We're doing whatever bit of prep we're doing and planning for the rally, and that's your build up, and then you get excited. And me and Alastair and I'll go and sit down and chat about it somewhere. We'll maybe do a bit of, before we do the next rally, I'm sure we'll go and do a bit of pace note practice to get our heads back in gear. And you missed that bit. You missed going to the rally, the buzz, the nervousness before the first stage. You missed the after the rally's over. Well, if you won or lost, there's lots of different emotions in that as well. But I think one of the things that personally I miss is meeting people and chatting and having crack with them. You know, I'm sure there's lots of scandal around the whole country we haven't heard of. We're going to have to make it up, Kevin. I think that's going to happen. There's been births and marriages about the place we haven't heard of. You know, whenever we meet again, people are going to be a year older, and there'll be more of us have grey hair, or some that have more grey hair, less hair than ever we had before. I mean, you miss all that. I mean, that's that personal camaraderie and catching up with people. And I know that whenever I go to a rally, I shake that many boys' hands and say, how are you getting on? What's the crack? And there'll be a 30-second or a 5-minute chat. I haven't had that with so many people over the last year. So you really miss that bit. We really miss that sort of stuff, you know. So and there's very little that you can find in the world which will replace it as well. You know, replace the buzz of rallying and certainly the camaraderie between the folks.
Friendship, like, you know, like I think it was Robbie McGurk said to me, like, whenever the clock's ticking, it's all, you know, it's ultimate go. You have no friends, but when that clock stopped ticking, it's everybody, you know, is looking after each other, and everybody's looking out for each other in the crowd.
Should there be fellow competitors, marshals, officials, or you know, or else everybody's looking out for each other? But is Robbie McGurk says, when you have the helmet on, everybody's an enemy. You know,
Yes.
especially the clock. It's the biggest enemy you have. But it's I definitely miss it. It would be mad keen to get out again. You know, do anything. So
Yes.
see what we'll do.
So I suppose, like, to wrap it up, then, if you could go back now and sit in one car with one driver on one stage, what would that be?
Just Kevin, that's a big ask. One driver and one that I've already done, or can I mix them up?
You can mix it up. Yeah.
Just have to think about that long. There's so many conundrums here. There's been.
Yes.
I mean, if you look through, I have an old record book somewhere, and I think I've rallied with 75 different drivers and 150 different cars. Someone said you put all those in the mix, you could come out with anything. Don't know off the top of my head. I think if you ask me the simple question, I think in terms of value for money and performance and all that stuff, I think that an S10 Subaru for me ticks all of those boxes. It goes forward, it stops, it turns, it's comfortable, it's easy to drive. It's definitely up there as one of those cars.
Okay.
You could now on a wet day on a twisty road, and R5 cars now quicker. But if you want a general car that takes you can go to the gravel on it, you can go to fast tarmac, go anywhere you want. So that's probably one of those cars. Now I've never had the pleasure. I've been in Kevin Lynch's Focuses, but never in one of them. A 2017, 18, 19, 2020 World Rally car. They must be a phenomenal piece of kit.
Yes.
So to choose a driver, I'm not sure. You'd have to think about the conditions and what you're trying to achieve and wherever else. For the crack, Robbie McGurk would be the boy to get in. Let him steer the first yoke that you find, whatever showroom you go to, wheel the yoke out of the gate, let him in and drive it. It'll be fast, I can assure you. One of the most naturally gifted, underrated drivers there is about. I think Rory maybe explained that as well. That,
yes.
He just has a knack of driving. And it's not really an issue for him. He just does it.
And plays himself down so much. He doesn't want to talk about himself really at all.
No, he doesn't really. But and for sure, you'll get a good stage time, and you put in a wee bit of crack at the end of it. So, I don't want to nominate another driver. I would say all the years I've learned rally with a lot of different guys, some very good friends, some excellent drivers. And you could start ticking a box, and I could list some of them and probably miss one of them, but. You think of the likes of Alastair Fisher now, the Niall McSays, the Alastair McRae's, the Rory Galligans, all those guys over the years, that are fast. Chris Meek, I've nearly forgot about him in the middle of all that. Those fast guys, and it's hard to work out which driver you put in which car and which sort of stage. But I'm still a fan of Irish tarmac rallying on a good day. Is that the way to put it? Whenever the sun's out and you go to Cod's Head, Ardgroom, Atlantic Drive, Fanad, Torhead, if you don't have a good feeling going to there on a dry and warm day, like it's someone missing, you get a good set of tires on, a good way to steer. That's hard to beat. Like.
So that kind of like me, I'll probably even have to ask the next question. You're still enjoying what you're doing? I
am. Still enjoying what I'm doing. I have learned no more sense over 30. What did we say it was 36 years? I'm probably as well. My enthusiasm is different from what it was when I was a young fella. I would have went anywhere with anybody and any kind of a scrap yoke. Now I'm more into being methodical and competitive and that sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm still want to do it. And as long as I still think I can contribute to the overall team performance and to the driver performance, I can still go and do it. If I ever become a burden, I certainly don't want to be there. But if I think I can bring something positive to the table.
I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us here now. It's just been such a lovely trip down memory lane and right up to date. It's just a great story. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much, Kevin. It's been good to sit here and reminisce about all those different years. And I can assure you, there's every rally I've done, the 500 something rallies I've done, there's probably a story behind each of them. But we wouldn't have time to talk about a quarter and not alone anything else.
That's true. We could probably talk for another hour, and we'll still miss out half the story.
Probably would. Yeah. Exactly right. Appreciate your thank you very much, Kevin.
Okay.
Cheers.
Take care now. Bye. That was Gordon Noble and myself, Kevin Dunedin, talking rally. I hope you enjoyed our conversation over the last 2 episodes. And if you liked it, can you please like and share on all social media platforms? And if you're listening on Apple Podcast, can you please rate the podcast? It'd be gratefully appreciated. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who listens and downloads the podcast. It's been greatly appreciated this last few months, and I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. And we'll catch up with you all soon. Take care and bye for now.